Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you a question that might make you a little uncomfortable. If I told you that 6 months from today, you could be living a completely different life, earning more money, feeling healthier, having deeper relationships, experiencing genuine happiness, would you believe me? Or would you think I'm just another person selling you a dream? Because here's what I know after decades of studying success and watching thousands of people transform their lives. Most of you will sit here today, nod your heads, feel inspired for about 48 hours, and then go right back to doing exactly what you were doing before. And that breaks my heart because I know what's possible for you. I know what you're capable of achieving. But here's the thing, knowing isn't enough. You've got to do something with what you know. Now, I want to share something with you that changed my life when I was 25 years old. I was broke, I was confused, and I was going nowhere fast. My bank account was embarrassing, my future looked bleak, and I remember standing in front of my bathroom mirror one morning thinking, is this it? Is this all there is? And then I met a mentor who said something that pierced right through my excuses. He said, Jim, if you'll change, everything will change for you. You don't have to change the economy, you don't have to change your circumstances, you don't have to change the seasons, you just have to change. That conversation happened in the spring, and by the fall of that same year, just 6 months later, my entire life had transformed. My income had tripled, I had read more books than I'd read in the previous 5 years combined, and I had discovered something powerful. 6 months is the perfect time frame for transformation. Why 6 months? Let me tell you. A year is too long. You lose momentum, you lose urgency, you start thinking you have all the time in the world. A month is too short. You barely get started before it's over, and you can't see meaningful change in just 30 days. But 6 months? 6 months is what I call the sweet spot of transformation. It's long enough to build new habits, develop new skills, create new results, but short enough that you can't procrastinate. You can't say, I'll start tomorrow for 6 months straight. Well, you can, but then the 6 months are gone and you're sitting exactly where you are right now, wondering why nothing ever changes. Think about this for a moment. 6 months from today will come whether you do something or not. Time doesn't care about your goals, your dreams, or your excuses. Time just keeps moving. So here's the real question. Where do you want to be when those 6 months are up? Because I promise you, you're going to arrive somewhere. The question is whether you arrive by design or by default. Most people arrive by default. They just drift along. And 6 months later, they look around and say, how did I end up here? But you can arrive by design. You can decide right now, today, where you want to be 6 months from now, and then you can create a plan to get there. Let me tell you about a woman I met several years ago. She came up to me after a seminar and she was crying. Not sad tears, frustrated tears. She said, Jim, I've been going to seminars like this for 5 years. I've got notebooks full of notes. I've got a shelf full of books. I've got all this knowledge, but my life hasn't changed. Why? And I looked at her and said, because knowledge isn't enough. You've got to apply what you know. You can have all the information in the world, but if you don't do anything with it, it's worthless. She wiped her tears, looked me right in the eye, and said, okay, what do I do? 6 months later, she sent me a letter. She had lost 35 pounds, she had started her own business, she had paid off $12,000 in debt, and she said the most beautiful thing, I finally understand that success isn't about knowing what to do, it's about doing what you know. That's what I want for you over these next 6 months. Not just knowledge, not just inspiration, not just good intentions. I want you to take what you're learning today and actually apply it to your life. Because here's what I've discovered. The difference between successful people and unsuccessful people isn't that successful people don't have problems. It isn't that they have more opportunities. It isn't even that they're smarter or more talented. The difference is that successful people do what unsuccessful people aren't willing to do. They make different choices. They develop different habits. They have different standards for themselves. Let me share with you the foundation of everything I'm going to teach you today. Success is not complicated. It really isn't. People try to make it complicated because if it's complicated, they have an excuse for not achieving it. But success is actually quite simple. It's just not easy. There's a difference. Simple means there aren't many steps. Easy means it doesn't require much effort. Success is simple, but it requires enormous effort, discipline, and consistency. And here's the challenge. What's easy to do is also easy not to do. It's easy to read 10 pages of a good book every day. It's also easy not to. It's easy to save 10% of your income. It's also easy not to. It's easy to exercise for 30 minutes. It's also easy not to. And here's the problem. When you don't do these easy things, nothing happens. You don't feel any different. You don't see any immediate consequences. So you think it doesn't matter. But then you do that for 6 months, and suddenly you wake up and realize you're 30 pounds heavier, your bank account is empty, and your mind hasn't grown at all. But it works the other way too. When you do these easy things consistently for 6 months, something magical happens. The books you read change the way you think. The money you save gives you options and security. The exercise transforms your body and your energy. And before you know it, you're looking in the mirror at a completely different person. That's the power of 6 months. That's the power of consistency. That's the power of doing the simple things that matter day after day after day. Now, let me give you the first key to transforming your life over the next 6 months. And this is absolutely critical. You must have clarity. Not just vague ideas about what you want, not just general wishes or hopes. Crystal clear, specific, measurable clarity about exactly what you want your life to look like 6 months from today. And here's why this matters. Fuzzy goals produce fuzzy results. If your goal is, I want to be successful, what does that even mean? Successful at what? How will you know when you've achieved it? What does success look like for you? But if your goal is, I want to increase my income by 40%, read 12 books, lose 20 pounds, and launch my own side business, now you've got something you can work with. Now you've got a target. Now you can create a plan. I want you to think about this tonight. When you get home, before you turn on the television, before you scroll through social media, before you do anything else, I want you to take out a piece of paper, an actual piece of paper, not your phone, and I want you to write down exactly what you want your life to look like 6 months from now. And I want you to be specific. Don't just write, I want to be healthier. Write down what healthy looks like. What do you weigh? How do you feel when you wake up in the morning? What foods are you eating? How often are you exercising? Paint a picture so clear that you could walk into it. Do the same thing for your income, your relationships, your personal growth, your business. Get so clear that it almost feels real. Because here's what happens when you get that clear. Your mind starts working on making it happen. Your subconscious mind can't tell the difference between something vividly imagined and something real. When you create a clear picture of where you want to be, your mind starts finding ways to get you there. Let me tell you a story that illustrates this perfectly. When I was building my first business, I had a mentor who told me to write down my goals every single day, not once, every single day. I thought it was ridiculous at first. I said, I already know what my goals are. Why do I need to write them down every day? He said, just do it for 30 days and see what happens. So I did. Every morning, first thing, I would write down my top goals. And something incredible started happening. I started noticing opportunities I'd been missing before. I started making decisions differently. I started meeting people who could help me reach those goals. Within 6 months, I had achieved goals I'd been talking about for 3 years. Was it magic? No. It was focus. When you focus on something every single day, you activate a part of your brain called the reticular activating system. This is the part of your brain that filters information and decides what's important. When you write down your goals every day, you're telling your brain, this is important. Pay attention to this. And your brain starts showing you opportunities, resources, and connections you would have otherwise missed. Now let me talk about something that's going to determine whether you succeed or fail over these next 6 months. And that's your philosophy. Your philosophy is how you think about life. It's the set of beliefs and principles that guide your decisions. And here's what you need to understand. It's not what happens to you that determines your future. It's what you do about what happens. Let me say that again because it's crucial. It's not what happens to you. It's what you do about what happens. See, we can't always control what happens to us. We can't control the economy. We can't control other people's choices. We can't control the weather or the traffic or 1,000 other things. But we can control how we respond. We can control what we do with what we've got. We can control our attitude, our effort, our choices. I learned this lesson in a profound way when I was in my early 30s. I had worked for a company for 6 years, and I thought I was doing well. I was working hard, showing up early, staying late, doing everything I thought I was supposed to do. And then one day, they let me go. Just like that, I was devastated. I went home and spent about a week feeling sorry for myself, blaming them, blaming the economy, blaming everything and everyone except myself. And then something clicked. I realized I was wasting time. I realized that whether it was fair or not, whether it was right or not, I had a choice. I could sit there and be bitter, or I could get better. I could complain about what happened, or I could create something new. So I decided to create something new. I took everything I'd learned in those 6 years, and I started my own business. Within 6 months, I was earning more money than I'd ever earned working for someone else. Within a year, I had built something that gave me freedom, security, and satisfaction I'd never experienced before. But here's the thing. None of that would have happened if I'd stayed stuck in the "it's not fair" mentality. The breakthrough came when I changed my philosophy from "this happened to me" to "what am I going to do about this?" That's the philosophy you need to adopt over the next 6 months. Things are going to happen. Some of them will be good, some of them will be challenging, but your success isn't going to be determined by what happens. It's going to be determined by what you do about what happens. Are you going to make excuses or make progress? Are you going to blame circumstances or take responsibility? Are you going to wait for things to get better or work to make them better? These are the questions that will determine your results. Now, let me talk about something that's going to have a massive impact on your 6-month transformation, and that's the people you surround yourself with. Here's a truth you need to write down. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Think about that. Look at the 5 people you spend the most time with, and that's who you're becoming. Are they growing or stagnating? Are they positive or negative? Are they taking their lives seriously or just drifting along? Because here's what happens. We become like the people we spend time with. It's not intentional, it's osmosis. We pick up their habits, their attitudes, their standards, their vocabulary, their beliefs. If you're hanging around 5 people who think small, you're going to think small. If you're hanging around 5 people who complain all the time, you're going to start complaining. If you're hanging around 5 people who don't read, don't learn, don't grow, guess what's going to happen to you? But the opposite is also true. If you start surrounding yourself with people who are ambitious, who are growing, who are reading and learning and striving to be better, you're going to rise to their level. I've seen this happen over and over again. I've watched people transform their lives simply by changing who they spend their time with. Now, I'm not saying you need to abandon your friends or family, but I am saying you need to be very intentional about who you give your time and energy to over these next 6 months. Some people need to be loved from a distance. You can care about them without spending all your time with them. You can wish them well without letting them drag you down. Let me tell you about a young man I mentored several years ago. He came to me and said he wanted to build a successful business, but he was struggling. He had all these ideas, all this energy, but he wasn't making progress. So I started asking him questions about his life. Who was he spending time with? Where was he investing his energy? And he told me about his friends. They'd get together every weekend and complain about their jobs, about their bosses, about how unfair life was. They'd sit around for hours, drinking beer, watching sports, talking about all the things they wished were different, but never doing anything about it. And I said to him, if you want to build a successful business, you can't keep spending every weekend with people who don't have any ambition. You need to find people who are where you want to be and spend time with them. He looked at me like I'd asked him to move to another planet, but he did it. He started going to business networking events. He joined a mastermind group. He started reading books written by successful entrepreneurs, and within 6 months, his business had grown more than it had in the previous 2 years. His income had doubled. His confidence had skyrocketed. And you know what happened to those old friends? Some of them got inspired by his transformation and started making changes themselves. Others drifted away, but he didn't lose anything valuable. He gained everything he needed. That's what I want you to understand about association. Over the next 6 months, you need to be very protective of your time and your energy. You need to surround yourself with people who inspire you, challenge you, and believe in your potential. Find mentors, join groups, read books, listen to podcasts, attend seminars. Put yourself in environments where growth is expected and excellence is the standard. Because here's the truth. You can't soar with eagles if you're scratching with turkeys. You've got to elevate your associations if you want to elevate your life. Now, let me talk about something that most people completely overlook, and that's the power of documentation. Starting today, I want you to become a serious student of your own life. Get yourself a journal, not a digital one, an actual physical journal, and start writing in it every single day. Write about what you learned. Write about what worked and what didn't. Write about your wins and your challenges. Write about the ideas that pop into your head. Write about the conversations that impacted you. Because here's what happens when you document your journey. You start to see patterns. You start to see what's working. You start to see where you're making progress and where you're stuck. And you create a record of your growth that will inspire you on the days when you don't feel like you're making progress. I've kept a journal for over 40 years, and I can tell you without a doubt that it's one of the most valuable habits I've ever developed. When I look back at my journals from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I can see exactly how I've grown. I can see the mistakes I made and learned from. I can see the decisions that changed everything. I can see the moments when I was struggling and the breakthroughs that followed. And I can tell you this. Every time I go back and read my old journals, I learn something new. I see things I missed the first time. I gain insights that help me in my current situation. Your journal becomes a treasure chest of wisdom. And the beautiful thing is, it's your wisdom. It's custom made for your life. Let me give you a specific example of how powerful this can be. If you commit to writing just one page in your journal every day for the next 6 months, that's 180 pages of insights, ideas, lessons, and growth. Imagine having a 180-page book that's specifically about your journey, your challenges, your victories, your transformation. How valuable would that be? What could you learn from reading that? How could you use that wisdom to continue growing? This is why documentation is so powerful. It turns your experiences into education. It turns your mistakes into lessons. It turns your journey into a guidebook. Now, let me talk about something that's going to determine whether you're just busy or actually productive over the next 6 months, and that's the power of focus. Here's what I've learned over decades of studying successful people. Where focus goes, energy flows. Whatever you focus on expands. If you focus on problems, you'll see more problems. If you focus on opportunities, you'll see more opportunities. If you focus on what's wrong with your life, you'll find more things that are wrong. But if you focus on what's working, what's possible, what you can control, you'll find more of that too. The challenge is that we live in a world designed to destroy your focus. Every notification, every email, every social media update is pulling your attention in a different direction. And here's what happens. You end up spending your days reacting instead of creating. You end up majoring in minor things. You end up busy but not productive. And at the end of the day, you're exhausted, but you haven't actually moved closer to your goals. This is why focus is so critical. Over the next 6 months, you need to become absolutely ruthless about protecting your focus. You need to identify your top 3 priorities and say no to almost everything else. You need to create blocks of time where you're completely focused on your most important work with no distractions, no interruptions, no multitasking. Let me tell you what this looks like in practical terms. Every morning, before you check your email, before you look at your phone, before you talk to anyone, I want you to spend the first hour of your day working on your most important goal. Just 1 hour, 60 minutes of completely focused effort on the thing that matters most. Do you know what happens if you do this every single day for 6 months? You'll have invested 180 hours of focused effort into your most important goal. That's equivalent to 4.5 40-hour work weeks. Think about what you could accomplish with 4.5 weeks of focused, uninterrupted work on your biggest goal. You could write a book, you could build a business, you could master a new skill, you could transform your health, you could create something extraordinary. But here's the catch. You've got to actually do it, not just think about it, not just plan to do it, actually do it every single day. No excuses, no exceptions, because success is built on consistency, and consistency is built on discipline. Motivation will get you started, but discipline will keep you going. Motivation is like a hot shower. It feels great, but the effects don't last. Discipline is like a cold shower. It's uncomfortable at first, but it makes you stronger, tougher, more resilient. Over the next 6 months, you need to build discipline. You need to do what you said you would do, even when you don't feel like doing it, especially when you don't feel like doing it. I remember a period in my life when I was trying to build my speaking business, and I wasn't seeing results as quickly as I wanted. I was getting discouraged. I was starting to wonder if it was worth it. And I called my mentor and said, "I'm working so hard, but nothing's happening." He said something I'll never forget. He said, "Jim, the greatest achievements in life happen underground before they happen above ground. A bamboo tree spends 5 years developing its root system underground. You can't see any growth. Nothing's happening on the surface. But underground, the roots are spreading, getting stronger, going deeper. And then in the 6th year, that bamboo tree shoots up 90 feet in 6 weeks. But it doesn't grow 90 feet in 6 weeks. It grows 90 feet because of the 5 years of root development that happened when nobody could see it." That conversation changed my perspective. I realized that just because I couldn't see the results didn't mean nothing was happening. Every book I read, every skill I developed, every speech I gave, every person I met, it was all building my root system. And sure enough, within a year, everything changed. Opportunities started flooding in. My income exploded. My business took off. But none of that would have happened if I'd given up during the underground season. That's what I want you to understand about these next 6 months. Some of what you do is going to produce immediate results. You'll see progress right away, but some of what you do is going to be underground work. You won't see immediate results, but you're developing your root system. You're building a foundation. You're getting stronger even though you can't see it yet. Trust the process. Stay consistent. Keep doing the work even when you can't see the results. Because I promise you, if you stay consistent for 6 months, the results will come. Now, let me talk about something that could accelerate your transformation more than anything else, and that's the power of investment. I'm not just talking about money. Although financial investment in yourself is important, I'm talking about investing your time, your energy, your attention in your own development. Here's a principle that changed my life. Formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. The school system teaches you how to work for money. Self-education teaches you how to make money work for you. The school system teaches you to be an employee. Self-education teaches you to be an entrepreneur, an investor, a creator. Let me ask you a question, and I want you to really think about this. How much have you invested in your own personal development over the last year? How many books have you read? How many courses have you taken? How many seminars have you attended? How many coaches or mentors have you hired? Most people will spend $100 on dinner without thinking twice, but they'll hesitate to spend $100 on a book that could change their life. They'll spend thousands of dollars on a vacation, but they won't spend $1,000 on a course that could double their income. Why? Because we've been conditioned to value consumption over investment. We've been conditioned to value entertainment over education. But here's what successful people understand. The best investment you can make is in yourself. If you want to earn more, you have to learn more. If you want to do better, you have to know better. Over the next 6 months, I want you to make a commitment to invest in yourself. Read at least one book per month. That's just 10 pages a day. Anyone can read 10 pages a day. Take a course, attend a seminar, hire a coach, join a mastermind group. Whatever it takes to accelerate your learning and your growth. Because here's the beautiful thing about investing in yourself. It's the one investment that can never be taken away from you. The economy can crash, the stock market can collapse, you can lose all your money, but nobody can take away what you've learned. Nobody can take away the skills you've developed. Nobody can take away the wisdom you've gained. Let me share with you something fascinating about compound improvement. If you improve just 1% every single day for 6 months, do you know where you'll be? Most people think you'd be 6% better, or maybe 30% better. But because of the compounding effect, if you improve 1% every day for 180 days, you'll be over 6 times better than when you started. 6 times better. Not 6% better, 600% better. That's the power of compound improvement. That's why small changes, consistently applied, produce massive results over time. But here's the challenge. Most people want massive results without making small changes. They want to transform their life overnight. They want the magic pill, the secret formula, the shortcut that bypasses all the hard work. And I'm here to tell you that it doesn't exist. There is no magic pill. There is no secret formula. There is no shortcut. Success is built one day at a time, one decision at a time, one small improvement at a time. And if you're willing to make those small improvements consistently over the next 6 months, I guarantee you will be amazed at the transformation. Now let me talk about something that will either propel you forward or hold you back over the next 6 months, and that's your standards. Your life will always move in the direction of your standards. If you raise your standards, your life will rise to meet them. If you lower your standards, your life will drop to meet them. It's that simple. Your standards are what you're willing to accept. They're the line you won't cross. They're the non-negotiables in your life. And here's what I've discovered. Most people have low standards. They accept mediocrity. They settle for less than they're capable of. They tolerate situations, relationships, and results that don't serve them. And then they wonder why their life isn't changing. Over the next 6 months, you need to raise your standards in every area of your life. Raise your standards for what you'll accept in your health. Stop putting garbage in your body. Stop neglecting exercise. Stop accepting being tired and overweight as normal. Raise your standards for what you'll accept in your relationships. Stop spending time with people who drain you. Stop accepting disrespect or negativity. Stop settling for shallow connections when you could have deep, meaningful relationships. Raise your standards for what you'll accept in your income. Stop accepting being broke as your reality. Stop settling for a paycheck that doesn't reflect your potential. Stop making excuses for why you can't earn more when you haven't invested in learning how to earn more. I learned this lesson about standards from one of my early mentors. I was complaining to him about my financial situation, and he listened patiently for a while, and then he said something that hit me like a brick. He said, "Jim, you're not broke because of the economy. You're not broke because of your circumstances. You're broke because you have low standards. You've accepted being broke as normal. You've tolerated it. And what you tolerate, you can't change." I got defensive at first, but then I realized he was right. I had accepted being broke. I had made peace with it. I had stopped fighting to change it. So I made a decision that day to raise my standards. I said, I will never accept being broke again. I will do whatever it takes, learn whatever I need to learn, become whoever I need to become to create wealth in my life. And that decision, that raising of standards, changed everything. Within 6 months, my income had tripled. Within a year, I had created more wealth than I'd created in the previous 5 years combined, not because the economy changed, not because I got lucky, but because I raised my standards and refused to accept anything less. That's what I want you to do over the next 6 months. Look at every area of your life and ask yourself, what am I accepting that I shouldn't be accepting? Where have I lowered my standards? Where have I settled? And then make a decision to raise those standards. Decide what you will and won't tolerate. Draw a line in the sand. And then, this is critical, back up your new standards with action. Don't just say you have high standards. Live them, demonstrate them, make choices that reflect them. Now let me talk about something that's going to determine your daily experience over the next 6 months, and that's the power of rituals. Your life is shaped by your daily rituals. What you do every day matters more than what you do once in a while. It's not the one-time grand gesture that changes your life. It's the small things you do consistently, day after day, that create your destiny. Think about it. Going to the gym once doesn't make you fit. Going to the gym consistently for 6 months transforms your body. Reading one book doesn't make you knowledgeable. Reading regularly for 6 months transforms your mind. Saving money once doesn't make you wealthy. Saving money consistently for 6 months builds financial security. Over the next 6 months, you need to establish rituals that support your goals. And here's a ritual that will absolutely transform your life. Wake up 1 hour earlier every day. I can already hear some of you groaning, but listen to me. If you wake up 1 hour earlier every day for 6 months, that's 180 extra hours. That's equivalent to 4.5 40-hour work weeks. Think about what you could accomplish with an extra 4.5 weeks of focused time. You could read 20 or 30 books. You could build a side business. You could master a new skill. You could write a book. You could transform your health. The possibilities are endless. But here's the key. You have to use that extra hour intentionally. Don't wake up early just to scroll through social media or watch television. Use that hour for your most important goal. Use it to read. Use it to plan your day. Use it to exercise. Use it to work on your business. Use it for personal development. Make that hour sacred. Make it non-negotiable. Because I promise you, what you do in that first hour of your day will set the tone for the entire day. If you start your day with focused, intentional effort toward your goals, you'll carry that momentum throughout the day. If you start your day reactive, checking email and notifications, responding to other people's agendas, you'll spend the whole day playing catch-up. Let me share with you the morning ritual that transformed my life. For the last 30 years, I've followed the same morning routine. I wake up at 5 in the morning. I spend the first 30 minutes reading something educational or inspirational. I spend the next 30 minutes planning my day, reviewing my goals, and thinking about my priorities. And then I spend an hour working on my most important project before I do anything else. Before I check email, before I take phone calls, before I deal with anything urgent or reactive. That first 2 hours of my day belongs to me and my goals. And I can tell you without a doubt that this ritual has been the foundation of every success I've achieved. It's how I've written books, built businesses, created wealth, and maintained my health and relationships. It's the one thing that, if I had to give up everything else, I would fight to keep. That's the power of rituals. That's the power of starting your day with intention. Over the next 6 months, create morning rituals that serve your goals. Create evening rituals that help you wind down and prepare for the next day. Create rituals around exercise, around learning, around connecting with the people you love, because rituals remove the need for willpower and discipline. Once something becomes a ritual, it's just what you do. It's automatic. It's who you are. Now let me talk about something that's going to be critical when things get difficult, and that's the power of accountability. Here's what I know about human nature. We'll do more to avoid letting others down than we'll do to lift ourselves up. We'll break promises to ourselves all day long, but we hate breaking promises to other people. Use this knowledge to your advantage. Over the next 6 months, create accountability in your life. Find an accountability partner, someone who's also working on goals, someone you can check in with regularly, someone who will call you out when you're making excuses. Join a mastermind group. Hire a coach, share your goals publicly, make commitments to other people that you'll be inspired to keep. I've been part of a mastermind group for over 20 years, and it's been one of the most valuable investments of my life. We meet once a month and we share our goals, our progress, our challenges, and our wins. And here's what happens. When you know you're going to have to report your progress to your mastermind group, you don't want to show up empty-handed. You don't want to be the person who made excuses all month. You don't want to admit that you didn't do what you said you would do. So you push yourself. You do the work, you make progress, and then when you meet with your group and share your wins, they celebrate with you. When you share your challenges, they help you solve them. When you share your goals, they hold you accountable to them. It's powerful. If you don't have a mastermind group, create one. Find 3 or 4 people who are serious about growth, who are committed to excellence, who will challenge you and support you. Meet regularly, share openly, hold each other accountable. Because success is not a solo journey. The most successful people in the world have coaches, mentors, accountability partners, and mastermind groups. They don't try to do it alone. Neither should you. Let me talk about something that's inevitable over the next 6 months, and that's setbacks. You're going to face challenges. Things aren't going to go according to plan. You're going to have bad days, bad weeks, maybe even bad months. And here's what separates successful people from everyone else. Successful people recover quickly. They don't avoid setbacks. They just don't stay down long. When they fall, they get up. When they fail, they learn. When they face obstacles, they find a way around, over, or through them. I want you to understand something important. Failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. Every successful person you admire has failed more times than you've even tried. The difference is they didn't let failure stop them. They didn't let setbacks define them. They used failure as feedback. They learned from it, adjusted, and kept moving forward. Over the next 6 months, when you face setbacks, and you will, I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. First, what can I learn from this? Second, how can I use this to get better? And third, what's my next move? Don't waste time dwelling on what went wrong. Don't waste energy blaming yourself or others. Learn, adjust, and keep moving. Let me share a personal story about this. When I first started speaking professionally, I bombed. I mean, really bombed. I gave a presentation to a group of about 50 people, and it was a disaster. I was nervous, I stumbled over my words, I lost my place, and I could see people in the audience checking their watches and looking at the door. It was humiliating. When it was over, I wanted to quit. I wanted to never speak in public again. But then I remembered something my mentor had told me. He said, every master was once a disaster. Every expert was once a beginner. The difference is the master didn't quit when they were a disaster. So instead of quitting, I analyzed what went wrong. I worked on my content. I practiced my delivery. I studied other speakers. I got feedback. I improved. And 6 months later, I gave another presentation. It was better. Not perfect, but better. And I kept improving. 6 months after that, I gave a presentation that got a standing ovation. And now, decades later, I've spoken to millions of people around the world. But none of that would have happened if I'd quit after that first disaster. The setback didn't stop me. It taught me. It made me better. That's how you need to approach setbacks over the next 6 months. Don't let them stop you. Learn from them. Use them. Let them make you stronger, wiser, more resilient. Because I promise you, the person you become in the process of overcoming setbacks is more valuable than the goal you're pursuing. Now let me talk about something that most people wait too long to do, and that's celebration. Most people wait until they reach their final goal to celebrate, and that's a mistake. You need to celebrate your progress, not just your achievements. You need to acknowledge the small wins along the way, because celebration fuels motivation. When you celebrate progress, you create positive momentum. You reinforce the behavior that's working. You train your brain to associate effort with reward. Over the next 6 months, celebrate every win. Did you wake up early and work on your goals? Celebrate it. Did you finish a book? Celebrate it. Did you exercise when you didn't feel like it? Celebrate it. Did you have a difficult conversation? Celebrate it. I'm not saying you need to throw a party for every small accomplishment, but acknowledge it. Give yourself credit. Say, yes, I did that. I'm proud of myself. Because here's what happens when you do this consistently. You start to see yourself as someone who follows through. You start to build confidence. You start to believe in your ability to achieve your goals. And that belief becomes the fuel that keeps you going when things get tough. Let me conclude with this. 6 months from today, you're going to arrive somewhere. The question is where? You can arrive by default, having drifted along for 6 months, doing the same things you've always done, getting the same results you've always gotten. Or you can arrive by design, having spent 6 months intentionally working towards specific goals, developing new habits, building new skills, and transforming your life. The choice is yours, and the time is now. Everything you need to create an extraordinary life is within your reach. The knowledge is available. The strategies are proven. The opportunities are endless. The only question is, are you ready to begin? Your next 6 months start now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, now. Take action on what you've learned today. Apply these principles, follow this plan, and watch as your life transforms in ways you never thought possible. Remember, life will pay whatever price you ask of it. Ask for mediocrity, you'll get mediocrity. Ask for excellence, you'll get excellence. Over the next 6 months, ask for excellence in everything you do. Accept nothing less than your best. And finally, remember this. The next 6 months of your life can be better than the last 6 months of your life. But that won't happen by accident. It will happen by design, your design. Take control, take charge, take action. The future belongs to those who prepare for it today. And today, you've taken the first step toward that preparation. Now go forth and make these next 6 months the best 6 months of your life. Make them count, make them matter, make them memorable. Because 6 months from now, you'll be telling one of two stories: a story of action and achievement, or a story of procrastination and regret. The choice is yours. Choose wisely, choose now. Thank you. And now, decades later, I've spoken to millions of people around the world, but none of that would have happened if I'd quit after that first disaster. The setback didn't stop me. It taught me. It made me better. That's how you need to approach setbacks over the next 6 months. Don't let them stop you. Learn from them. Use them. Let them make you stronger, wiser, more resilient. Because I promise you, the person you become in the process of overcoming setbacks is